You know, every single country on Earth is shaped by one fundamental question. Who gets the final say? Today, we're going to dig into this idea of sovereignty by looking at three totally different answers to that question. We're about to uncover three unique stories of how nations decide who's really in charge.
It sounds so simple, right? But the answers are incredibly complex. Is it a king? A parliament? Is it the people themselves? This is the central puzzle we're going to piece together. And the answer? Well, it defines a nation's identity, its laws, and its entire relationship with its own citizens. Okay, so before we go any further, let's make sure we're on the same page with our key term here, sovereignty. It's really all about finality. It's the buck stops here, the ultimate, uncontrollable authority in a society. Getting this is the absolute key to unlocking the constitutional stories of the UK, the US, and Romania.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off in the UK, where Parliament is king. Then we'll hop across the Atlantic to see how the US put the people in the driver's seat. After that, we'll journey to Romania to understand a sovereignty born from a struggle for independence. And finally, we'll get into the tough questions this whole idea faces in our modern, connected world.
Okay, let's dive right in with our first case study, the United Kingdom. Its path to sovereignty wasn't dreamed up in some quiet room. No, it was hammered out over centuries of intense, often bloody, conflict between the crown and the parliament.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It shows a century of just immense struggle. The 1600s started with kings who honestly believed they were chosen by God to rule, and it ended with Parliament holding all the cards. The Glorious Revolution wasn't just a minor reshuffle. It was a fundamental earthquake in where power itself was located.
And here's something that might surprise you. Unlike most countries, the UK doesn't have one single document you can point to and say, that's the Constitution. Instead, the ultimate rulebook is, well, it's whatever Parliament says it is at any given moment. This means Parliament can literally make or unmake any law it wants, and there's no higher text to stop it.
And you don't have to take my word for it. The legendary legal scholar William Blackstone he nailed the essence of this system. He described Parliament's power as absolute, uncontrollable, not just for everyday laws, but for changing the very structure of the kingdom. In this system, there's just no higher authority, period.
Now, let's see how experiencing that exact system led to a completely different idea across the ocean. The American colonies saw what parliamentary sovereignty looked like up close, and they decided they wanted something else entirely.
This was the philosophical spark that lit the fuse of the American Revolution. The colonists just flat out rejected the idea that some group of politicians in Parliament could be the ultimate boss. They argued for a radical, new source of authority, the citizens themselves.
This chart really breaks it down. On the left, you've got the British model, where government is the master. And on the right, you have the American model, where government is the servant. This idea, popular sovereignty, it completely flips the script on where political power comes from.
And here it is, written right into one of America's founding documents. Just listen to that language. Power is derived from the people. Government officials are their trustees and servants. I mean, this isn't just fancy rhetoric. It's the absolute bedrock, the DNA of the American system. Power flows up from the people, not down from the government.
And this gets us to a really crucial difference. Think of it this way. In the UK, Parliament writes its own rules. In the US, the people wrote the rules for the government. The Constitution is basically an instruction manual from the sovereign people to their employees in government, telling them exactly what they can, and more importantly, what they can't do.
Okay, now for our third path, and it's different all over again. Romania's story of sovereignty isn't really about an internal fight between a king and a parliament, or some big philosophical break. It's about the fight for national existence itself.
Wow, I mean, this timeline reveals such a dramatic and honestly a really difficult journey. For centuries, Romania was basically under the control of the Ottoman Empire. Its first real taste of sovereignty came from fighting a war of independence. But then, that hard-won freedom was lost to a totalitarian regime, only to be grabbed back in the '89 revolution. Every step was about defining itself as a nation. So you see, the main driver here was external. It was all about establishing independence on the world stage, freeing the nation from the control of huge empires and political blocs. The core question wasn't just who rules us, but do we even get to rule ourselves at all?
So after that 1989 revolution, what did Romania do? It created a new constitution, and boom, right there in Article 2, it clearly adopted the model of popular sovereignty,
a lot like the United States. It says right there that the Romanian people are the ultimate source of power. That's a powerful statement from a nation that fought so long for the right to say it. Okay, so we've got these three distinct paths, but here's the thing. In the 21st century, the very idea of absolute sovereignty is being challenged. I'm talking about international organizations, global problems. They're forcing every nation to rethink what it even means to be fully in charge.
You see this process playing out all over the world, but the European Union is the perfect example. A country like Romania, after fighting so hard for its sovereignty, then makes a sovereign choice to join the EU. And when it does that, it agrees to pool some of that sovereignty, handing over some decision-making power to a bigger group in exchange for shared benefits.
And what's so fascinating from a legal standpoint is that Romania's own rulebook, the very one written by its sovereign people, actually includes a section that allows this to happen. It acknowledges that, in certain areas, EU law gets to have the final say. It's a voluntary limit on sovereignty made in exchange for being part of the club.
But yeah, it's not always a smooth ride. This creates a really delicate balancing act. Romania's highest court has had to weigh the power of EU law against what it calls the national constitutional identity. It's a modern legal tug-of-war where that old question of who has the final say is being fought over in real time.
All right, let's bring it all together. This slide gives us a great snapshot of our three stories. You've got the UK, with its all-powerful parliament, now facing big questions about its own authority from places like Scotland. You have the US, with its sovereign people constantly arguing over what their 200-year-old rulebook actually means today. And you have Romania, which also put its people in charge, now navigating that tricky balance between its own constitution and its promises to the EU.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to chew on. When you think about the biggest challenges we face today, climate change, global pandemics, the economy, none of them respect borders. So, is the future a place where nations have to voluntarily give up a piece of their absolute authority just to solve shared problems? Is sovereignty not an iron wall anymore, but more of a permeable membrane? It's definitely something to think about.